So we also have a big news story that happened this week, big for journalists like myself. In case some of you don't know, I am a journalism student at San Francisco State University. I work on the paper there for the Express. I'm the editor. I was a writer last semester. And recently, one of our alumnus, Josh Wolf, was held in prison as a journalist, and he just was released this week on Tuesday. It brings up an interesting debate because, you know, a lot of people don't really consider Josh Wolf a journalist, and I might editorialize a little bit here about my 2 cents on this, because we did cover this. We were one of the first papers to cover it, pick up the story, one of the first papers there to see him when he got released. We were one of the first people to publish anything as soon as he was released. Like, as soon as we heard, we put something up on the internet. We've been watching this very closely because he is an alumnus from our school. He graduated with a psychology degree. He never went to journalism classes, and his lawyer, David Green, is actually one of our instructors for our mass communication law. So he has a lot of connections with our school. We have a lot of connections with him because obviously we're all journalists and we all want to see him get out of prison. Unfortunately, we were all a little bit disappointed in the way he got out. He agreed to turn over his unedited tape after all. And what this kind of opens the door for is just how long will it... He did spend the most amount of time in jail, but you know, in the end, the State Department still got their way. They still got the unedited footage, and that's really what it comes down to. Like, if it was any sort of reporter, the one thing you always want to protect is your sources, your notebook, your footage, your film, whatever it is, because you do not want to be seen as a snitch. You don't want people to know that anything that you have can be used against them, you know, in conjunction with police or anything, because then you lose sources. And they got it. They got his unedited video. And he always said that he was going to release it eventually anyway because there wasn't anything incriminating on it, but that's not the point. They still got his footage, and this footage wasn't even very journalistic. I mean, it was very much from his perspective about what the event was about, which was an anti-globalization demonstration. Happened in 2005 in the Mission District in San Francisco. It was it turned violent. But he spends a lot of time focusing near the end of the video on how the policeman held down one guy, but yet he missed another policeman getting knocked over and his skull cracked open, and he missed them torching a police car. Now, if you're a journalist, those are big events at a riot. Those are things you film. It doesn't matter if you're an activist or not. Those are things that you want to cover, and he didn't do it. So it makes me wonder, like, he calls himself a journalist, but he's not a very good one, apparently. And he does a lot of blogging, and he calls himself an activist and an anarchist, and he's completely biased, obviously, which is something we're always trained in journalism not to be when we're reporting stories. So, you know, thanks to him for spending so much time in jail. It was a very momentous occasion in journalism, but now I wonder, you know, how long is it going to be before the next person gets thrown in jail, and how long will it take for them to crack and turn over their notebook, or their unedited video, or their film that hasn't been cut, or their source list, or anything. And I also wonder, too, if Josh Wolf is ever going to be taken as a serious journalist from now on. If he shows up to another rally or riot or demonstration with a camera, are people going to talk to him? Are they going to bash him in the face? Are they going to wonder if he's a snitch now? Are they going to... like, what's going to happen to him now? So what's going to happen to other journalists? What kind of precedent has this set? And it's very concerning for us all, especially in, you know, the profession. He likes to say, you know, we have him quoted saying he shouldn't have to decide, or we shouldn't have to decide who isn't a journalist because that's like state-sanctioned journalism. But the state doesn't sanction journalism. If the state had it this way, we wouldn't have journalists, or we'd all have to be licensed journalists, and then they could decide who we are. Journalism is defined by professional standards that have been developed over years and years and years. And you can't just throw all that history out the window. You have to keep that in mind when you're going to call yourself a journalist. You have to define yourself by those rules, or you have to decide how you fit in with that mold in some way. And I don't know if Josh Wolf does. I really don't. So anyway, that was my spiel on Josh Wolf. We'll be back next week with more funny business because I'm going to be out of the office. Scott will be back with funny songs and funny puppets and funny videos again, and I'll be off doing my getting over my sinus infection or whatever this is I have. I think it's allergies. There's a lot of pollen in the air in California right now. It's kind of annoying. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you check us out next week. I hope you check us out on our website, tubular.tv. Buddy us or add us to your list of TV or stations you watch on YouTube. And that's all for today. All right, have a good one.